Hey folks, I want to talk to you guys a bit about camping and slow travel in general. I like to build a case to convince you to get out there and go camping because it helps me and I think it might help you too. Just about everybody I know is walking around with their brains just redlining. People are stressing out about stressing out. You talk to any doctor and they'll tell you that hypertension is on the rise. And it just seems like everything is a near emergency these days, doesn't it? Relaxing is the remedy to tension, but what if it's hard for you to relax? In our last travel series when we went to Nicaragua, it wasn't until the second last day of the entire vacation where I was able to sit down on the beach and finally relax. I thought I was broken. Relaxing is definitely not something that comes easy to me, except for when I'm camping. So let's dig into this a little bit and see A, if camping is right for you, and B, what effect it might have. I don't know if you've ever been to this channel before, but if you have, then you'd know that I obviously love to travel. It's kind of like the whole point of this thing. But if you're anything like me, I can't always afford the cost or the time or the mental bandwidth to travel to some far off adventure. Sometimes I just want to sit still and not be bombarded with all the ads and fees and the craziness of the world. Sometimes I'm just looking for basically the vacation equivalent of my own bed. So enter slow travel, and in this case specifically, camping. Olivia started her first camping trip a few years ago when we moved back to Canada from Taiwan, where we first met. And for her, camping was an instant love. You can find that video on my channel. Okay. As for me, I've been camping every year since I was little. Actually, since before I was even born. My parents still go camping every year for extended periods of time, and they're old. Here, there's no flights to check into, there's no itineraries, there's no booking confirmations buried in your emails, there's no currency exchanges. Here, you're at no risk of having a busier vacation than your already too busy life. And really, you can get everything you need on your next grocery run if you shop at Costco or Walmart, although I would encourage you to go to an outdoor store. They have much more sustainable products. By my estimation, the psychological effects of camping go through 4 stages. Or is it 5? It all starts within your busy day-to-day life. You're in your home booking a campsite on your computer. You're creating packing lists, gathering your equipment, and planning your meals. At this stage, it's as busy as anything else going on in your life. You're thinking about the logistics, the checklists, the redundancies. The day you set off on your camping adventure, you're only thinking about the thing you need to do next. Pack the gear, fuel the car, get groceries, drive to the campsite, put ice in the cooler, etc. You arrive at your site and now you've entered the second stage, which is one of my favorites, setting up. It's meditative. You're only thinking about the tasks that lay before you and you're doing them in order of importance. The objectives are clear, the rewards are great, and you can measure success with something tangible, something you can touch and see and feel, something that's right in front of you. You're doing all this, and without realizing it, all the garbage that fills up your other daily life is fading into the background. You've passed through the crossfade between your noisy life back home and the silence of nature. It's a gentle slope from the top of Stress Mountain down into the welcoming, beckoning ensconce of the wilderness, where you find yourself sitting in your new rope and fabric kingdom. The noise of the city is gone, but the noise of your own mind increases. The rebellion and protests of your fading thoughts get louder as they leave, and then it hits you. Anything outside of what you're doing right now is complete and utter bullshit. All of the software, all the bills, all the repairs, the to-do lists, the anger towards your job, your boss, your neighbors, total bullshit. With any luck, you'll sit there undisturbed long enough to look at the sky and remember that it's all small. All of this is nothing. The latest iPhone, really? Who gives a shit? You wonder why you cared about all those things in the first place. Your stomach growls, it's time for dinner, and time to make a fire. And just like that, the tasks of camping come back to give your seething mind an activity, and with each activity, a reward. The reward for doing campsite tasks is built into the task itself. I'm hungry, so I'm building a fire, and as a result, I'll get warmth, entertainment, and cooked food. A simple analog solution to an ancient problem. You get back what you put into it. And when was the last time you got a worthy reward for your input? You work, and for your work, you get money. And with the money, you can pay your bills. The pathway between your input and your reward is obscured. And we've leveraged that obscurity to keep you working for a lifetime and happy for the privilege of doing it. One of my biggest heroes, Ray Mears, said it the best: we belong to it.
So anyone who thinks they can pit themselves against nature is a fool. Nature is always going to be more powerful than any individual human being. The secret is not to pit yourself against nature, it's to learn to bend your flow to hers. We must remember that at the end, nature does not belong to us. We belong to it.
You're watching this video on something modern, some incredible device that humankind has managed to create. And it's impressive, but even that cool device had to convince you to buy it with clever marketing campaigns and demonstrations. But what you got was more stress, more things to get away from, and more things to measure against your self-worth. But this never needed to be sold to you. It never needed an advertisement. It's amazing in itself, and deep down, we all know it. Okay, time out, pause. I'm gonna show you a few items I have with me here. Actually, no. First, let me tell you a little bit about where we are. We are currently in Awenda Provincial Park, which is protected land in a peninsula jutting into Georgian Bay, north of Penetanguishene, which is north of Toronto in Canada. This park has 5 beaches and a dune system that is over 11,500 years old from the time of the last glacial retreat. Isn't that cool? Get it? Cool. Because of glaciers. There's over 200 recorded species of birds here, and humans have been here for over 10,000 years. The name of the park is Awenda. It's an Iroquoian word. The Iroquois are a group of indigenous tribes that modern society tries its best to forget. They're a group of incredible people that, by all means, this place belongs to, at least from what I can tell from my own research. Prior to the 1600s, there were over 25,000 people living here. Then the French and their bumbling army of Catholics came along, and with them came epidemics like measles and influenza and smallpox, cutting their population by around 65% to just 9,000 people. It's hard to imagine a better way to convince people to join your church than to give them an illness that you yourself are immune to and tell them to pray. Come on, Nova. Good job. I can't be sure what Awenda actually means. The internet says it means the word of God, but sadly, not all Iroquois languages have been properly documented. In one of my favorite books called The Awenda by Canadian writer Joseph Boyden, I learned that the word Awenda is the collective power of nature's energy that lives in all natural objects, even inanimate objects. The spirit inside all things natural, from animals and plants to water and even stones. Awenda, Orenda, interesting. Okay, let me show you something I have here. Let's shift gears for a second. Despite all my fancy words, I'm still a product of my 2024 environment, and so I too crave and even love technology. But when I travel, I like to take low tech in contrast to high tech. Don't you miss using tech that's just a pleasure to use? Something that is purposefully and elegantly designed and not just another app behind the glass of your smartphone screen? Because I do, and apparently I'm not alone. The trend in tech is increasingly analog. Just have a look at camera sales over the last year. So for the occasional entertainment cravings I get, I've been using this e-reader and this Game Boy for travel. I call them single function electronics. An e-reader does one thing, a Game Boy does one thing. This camera does one thing. And I feel like they strike a good balance between presence and entertainment. When I read or I play Game Boy or shoot videos, I'm not detached from the world or sucked down a Reddit rabbit hole. If you're curious to what I'm using, I'll put some links in the description. But my point is you can have both nature and modernity. You don't have to give up one to have the other. Okay, back to the video. The final stage comes into view, but it's not quite here yet. It's time to go home. So you're packing up all your stuff, taking care of each item so that it doesn't become garbage by the time you need to use it next. You're taking care of each item because maybe they've grown something of a personality over the last few days. You're packing up your mind as much as your tent, and you're putting it back into its compartment so that you can be a productive and functioning employee in a few days when the alarm clock goes off. And just like that, the final stage is here: dissatisfaction. Going home from a camping adventure is also exciting at first. You're looking forward to the food you can eat, the movies you can watch, hot showers, and a climate-controlled living room. That is, until someone honks their horn or email notifications turn on again and it tears you from your dreamlike state. You have to go and get from the world the thing you need, and sometimes the thing you might need is to just sit in the forest like an almond-milking hippie in hemp sandals, exploring the corners of your reverie. Besides, what better way to remove the noise in your mind than to be somewhere that absorbs the sound of it all and returns the dulcet musicality of birds and crickets? I must warn you, however, that it can create the kind of internal conflict that your boss will surely notice, as your face winces and contorts at the effort needed to hold closed the dam of your own self-control, making Awenda Provincial Park great for a vacation, but nearly fatal to your ability to participate in societal productivity thereafter. There's some things you confront in your mind and leaves an impression that never truly leaves you, an almost gravitational-like pull from the trees that calls a deeper part of your character into ascendancy. There's something ethereal in this forest that soaks into your body through osmosis, the way a dry sponge welcomes its friend, the water. And this time, I wonder if it might just be the Awenda. 5 stars, my dog loved it, showers were acceptably clean. Thanks for watching, and this time, don't click any of the links in the description. You don't need to buy any more shit. Save that money and get somewhere slow. Maybe go camping, because trust me, there's more for you here than there is for you in your phone.
Yeah, whatever, nerd.